Hey y'all, it's Charmin, so it must be another episode of SharminSeas, but this is the sidebar edition. So I know recently we've all been giving our shout outs to our graduates, whether it's your preschool or kindergarten graduate, 8th grade graduate, high school graduates, but I want to give a shout out to my law school graduates. And the reason I want to give you a shout out, and I want to do it now in particular, is because you're going through a very difficult time, most of you right now, and there's probably not a lot of people talking about it. And if they are talking about it, there may not be a lot of people that are being real about it. So you've got the hype of, if many for you, if you were like me, I wanted to be a lawyer. There were no ifs, ands, buts about it. So JD was it for me. There were no more graduations to be had. There were no more celebrations to be had. I had done that, did that, got hooded, and now it was time to prepare for the bar exam. And I can tell you that a lot of people handle it very well. A lot of people are confident. They go in just like they may have gone through law school and they say, okay, this is what I need to do and I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my mental health breaks and I'm going to eat right. I'm going to do everything perfectly. And if I do everything that I need to do, it will all work out. And I'm fine and I'm not stressed about it. And honey, if that is you, I am so happy for you. God bless you and your life. But that was not my situation, and that was not the situation of many people that I knew. For many people that I knew, it was their first time ever being on antidepressant medication, their first time being on anti-anxiety medication, their first time forgetting to eat, their first time forgetting to shower, their first time forgetting to brush their teeth, their first time forgetting who they were, where they were, and what the heck it was they were supposed to be doing with life. A lot of us question our life choices. I actually wondered for a while why a full-time job at Burger King would not work out. I mean, maybe it's not so bad. I don't want to smell like onion rings all day, every day, but hey, life happens. Because if you are like me, and maybe even more so if you look like me and you sound like me, this was not just a test. This was 21 years of a culmination of every test you've ever taken, every accomplishment you've ever gotten, every test you'd ever failed, every test you'd ever passed, every high school curricular you'd ever done. This was everything. This was every dollar that your parents had ever spent. This was every book that you had ever read. This was every aunt or grandma that slipped you that little $5 and said, go get yourself something nice when you go back to school. This was everybody that was proud of you. This is everybody in the entire universe on the weight of your back, and it felt like the entire world was dependent on you, and if you failed, everything was going to go away. And if that's how you feel right now, I want you to know, number one, none of that is true, and number two, it doesn't even matter. Number one, all this test is, y'all, is the 3-year combination of everything that you've been taught and the skill sets that you've been taught and the things that the bar thinks are the most important things that you need to know at the time to be able to go in and test the competency of the skills that you've been taught and how well you're able to execute them, and therefore decide whether or not you are competent enough to be given a pass to go out and practice law. And the reason I say practice law is because nobody ever masters the law, because you can't. The law never stops changing. All you're being taught how to do in law school is how to interpret the law, how to read the law, how to learn where it came from, where it started, the changes that are being made, the changes that may be coming, how you can argue for things that you want to be coming if they're not there already. But it is not what the bar exam is not. It is not an assessment of your character. It is not an assessment of how smart you are. It's not an assessment of how successful you are. It's not even an assessment of how successful you're going to be. I know so many people that passed the bar on their first try and are no more successful than people that it took 5 times for them to pass. Who you are is who you are, and it's what you're going to make yourself that is going to determine all of that stuff, and not whether or not, God forbid, you don't pass this test. The second thing that I want you to understand is that what you don't want to do is make the mistake that I made, and I am saying this to you as someone as honestly as I possibly can. You're going to go in and you've got your schoolmates around you. You've got everybody that you went to law school with for the most part, or where everybody decided to settle where they went to practice, but you're going to see familiar faces in those classes and those prep courses. And everybody's going to have the same mindset. We all got to pass. We all got to pass. We all got to pass. And therefore, your mind, at least mine did, said, okay, they gave me a formula. They said do 3 essays one day, listen to 2 lectures every day, do 50 multiple choice every day, come to class every day, follow the formula, and you will win. And guess what happens? Sometimes you don't. Because you may walk in and you may do exactly what I did, and you may recognize, I can see a formula, I can see when people are establishing a metric and a way to do things. That doesn't mean I'm going to understand it because they said to do it that way. That doesn't mean it's going to make any sense to me because they said to do it that way. That's just the way they said to do it. The mistake I made was forgetting that the 21 years that it took me to get here, and how I learn and how I best learn and how I best perform, can't go out the window just because I decided to take this one test and I was given this one way of how to be able to do that. So midstream, I changed paths. I said, wait a minute, that's not how I learn. I know how I learn. I know how I best perform. And therefore, I am going to do it in the way that I know how to do it. So, for example, if they said do 3 essays a day, I did 6. Because for me, doing more and doing more repetition helped better. But even if I didn't write 6 full essays every day, morning, noon, and night, I read every essay that I could get my hand on that had ever been written on a Florida bar question that had ever been published in the history of the world, to the extent that I could get my hand on it. And I read them over and over and over again, to the extent that by the time I actually went to take the bar exam, I could almost recognize the subject matter of the question by the way the question was written. I did the same thing for the multiple choice questions. They just said do them and then go through your answers and why you got them wrong. But it was this formula that wasn't making sense to me. What I needed to do was not only do them, I needed to think about them in real world contexts to the best way that I could. I need to recognize why it was A versus D and what the distinction between that slight C that it could have been, but yet the answer was still correctly A. And I would do them over and over and over again. And if they said do 50 questions, I would probably do 150 questions, but I would do those questions over and over again, to the extent that when I went to go take the exam, I could almost tell by the way the question was written what the subject matter was and probably what the answer was too. Either way, that may not work for you. All I'm saying to you is that you've got to find your formula and you have to do it your way. So what I first want you to understand is you cannot change who you are. You have to go into this the same way that you've gone through everything else. And again, you've taken LSATs, you've taken SATs, you've taken law school exams. This is one other exam, and if you're lucky and you're not dumb like me and decide to take another exam at my big age, then therefore this is hopefully the last one you will have to take. So yeah, you give it your all, but I don't care what happens. This test has nothing to do with how smart you are, how successful you are, or how successful you're going to be. It is testing a set of skills at a set time as the world deems to be the most important things. And whether you pass it on the first try, the second try, or the 10th try, you're still going to be okay. The world will still keep moving as long as you allow it to. The universe will still keep working on you as long as you allow it to, and everything will be fine. What I want you to do is I do not want you to give up on yourself, and I don't want you to forget yourself. And I think if you remember just those 2 things even, you will change your fear and your concept of what this test is, and you will realize this is just another box you have to check on your list until you join this career where I hope you will enjoy it, be good at it, be ethical about it, and have a wonderful time and a wonderful life. So I'm just wishing you the best of luck. I hope that whatever you do it and it works best for you, and I can't wait to welcome you all to this little club of ours. Bye.